that was the most painful thing. Shit was painful. Okay, so today I'm going to share my labor and delivery story. As you know, I had a 4-month-old baby girl, and I feel like my delivery was a little unique in the aspect of how it all happened. So I just wanted to share it, and plus I like talking to the camera. So it all started, well, the process started August the 27th. I was at work and I was sitting down, and I got up and I felt like a big gush of water come out of my so at that point I wasn't sure if I had peed myself or if my water had broke. So I got on Google, Dr. Google, and I Googled, what does it feel like when your water breaks? And everybody said it feels like, you know, a big gush of water, or it feels like you peed yourself, or some people said it's something like it's a little light but it runs down your leg. It was different like responses that I got whenever I Googled it. So I was like, I don't know if this is my water or if I peed myself, so let me call my sister. So I called my sister and I asked her, what does it feel like when your water breaks? Or how do you know if your water breaks? And she said, okay, it feels like you peed yourself, or it feels like a lot of water running down your leg. And I was like, okay, well, I think that my water broke, but I'm not 100% sure. She was like, oh my God, call the doctor. Like, if you think it is, just call the doctor. Because at that point, I was like a week shy of my due date. So I could have went in labor at any time. So I called my doctor. I told him, you know, it feels like I peed myself, but I'm not sure if I peed myself, but it's just a lot of fluid, and it has no smell. Because normally amniotic fluid, which is the fluid that the baby is in your stomach, if your water breaks, it doesn't have a smell and it's clear. And that's basically how it was. So they were like, okay, well, you can go ahead and come in so we can check on you to make sure that's what it is. So at that point, that's when I called my boyfriend, and I told him, you know, okay, I think my water broke, but I'm not 100% sure, because I was trying to play it cool. Sorry, she's crying in the background. So okay, so at that point I didn't want to overreact. So I was like, I think my water may have broken, I don't know. And he was like, okay, I'll be there. You know, he rushed over. So rushed over, he brought me to change of clothes, because at that point my work clothes were soaked with whatever it was that came out. So I had to change my clothes, and then we rushed to the hospital. Get to the hospital, they hooked me up to these different monitors, to monitor me, to monitor her, just to make sure that everything was okay, and of course to make sure that my water didn't actually break. The days, weeks leading up to this point, because you know, the closer you get to your due date, you go to the doctor every week. They were monitoring me because my fluid levels were dropping, and they wanted to make sure that, you know, with me losing that much fluid at once, that my fluid levels hadn't dropped drastically again. They want your fluid levels to be between a 5 and a 10. So they kept, you know, monitoring me, like I said, to make sure that they hadn't dropped. So after a while, right, the midwife came in and she tested to make sure that it wasn't amniotic fluid that came out of me. And it's a strip that they use, and they rub it on your area, and if it turns blue, it's amniotic fluid. If it turns blue, it's pee. If it stays another color, it's amniotic fluid. And of course, it was pee, allegedly. I don't think it was pee, but allegedly it was pee. So once once they tested that and they seen that it was amniotic fluid, my water hadn't broke, they went ahead and they sent me home and, well, back to work. So I go back to work embarrassed as ever because I had thought that my water broke. I thought that that was it. It was time. You know, that was it. They sent me back to work and they told me to follow up with my midwife at the appointment on that Friday. So they told me to follow up with my doctor on that Friday, you know, and make sure everything is okay and everything like that. So Friday comes. Because of the false alarm that I had that couple days before, I figured that I would just go, you know, I was just gonna be a normal doctor's appointment. I was just gonna go to the doctor, it's gonna be normal, you know, and I was gonna go back to work and it was gonna be, everything's gonna be cool. So that Friday I go to my doctor's appointment, and of course, as usual, they gave me an ultrasound to make sure that my fluid levels were good. And during the ultrasound, they had dropped again, and they had dropped to like a 2 point something. And remember, I told you that they want your fluid levels to be between a 5 and a 10, you know, just to make sure that everything is okay and safe for the baby. And mine had dropped to a 2 point, I think like a 2.5 or something like that. So at that point, they told me to go to the hospital because I had to be induced for labor. I wasn't expecting to go into labor or have a baby that day. I was expecting to not have her until September the 7th. Now I know that, of course, the chances of you going into labor on your actual due date is rare, but I don't know, I just expected it to come a little bit later. I wasn't expecting to go into labor that soon. Or I was expecting to go into labor in my body and go into labor on its own. So I had to be induced just to make sure that, you know, she had enough fluid around her and everything like that. They didn't want to wait until the 7th and she not have enough fluid, and then other things could happen from there. So they induced me. The way that they induced me, or the induction that I have, was with the balloon method. And I don't know, when I tell people that I got induced with the balloon method, a lot of people are like, what is it? Or people just don't know what it is, or people never heard of it, or they're confused about how the process goes and everything like that. So most of the times when you're induced, they either give you something through your IV to help you dilate, or I think they'll give you like a pill or something to help you dilate. With the induction that I have with the balloon, they insert a balloon into your cervix and they fill it with saline water to open your cervix up to about 4 centimeters if your body isn't dilating on its own. And my body wasn't dilating because I wasn't in active labor. I was being induced, so they had to force my body to dilate and to go into active labor. So they inserted the balloon in, and they have to leave it in for about 4 hours, I would say. Left mine in for about 4 hours, and it opens you up to 4 centimeters. That was the most painful thing. Shit was painful. So I was basically dying. I felt like my asshole was getting ripped out, just to be honest with you. I thought like to myself, like, damn, if this feels this bad, how is birth gonna feel? Damn. And I had no pain medicine, so I was feeling every bit of this opening and closing, whatever was going on in my cervix. I felt all of it because I had no pain medicine. I had no epidural, none of this at this point, because you can't get an epidural at this point anyway. So I had nothing. I was just feeling it until, of course, the nurse came in and they gave me, I forget what it was, but it was a pain medicine through my IV to, you know, help it a little. It still hurt, but it helped it to where it wasn't as painful. 4 hours later, they were able to pull the balloon out, and that's how you know if your cervix is fully dilated. So the way they can tell if the balloon is working or if it's ready to come out is they'll pull on it, and if it has a little tug back, then it's not ready to come out and you're not dilated enough yet. But if you pull it and it comes out, then you know that you're dilated and you can go ahead and get your Pitocin to speed up the process or start your contractions. So after 4 hours, they went ahead and pulled the balloon out, and then at that point I was able to get my Pitocin, and I was able to start actually contracting and start to get into active labor. I was in labor for 36 hours total. I went into labor on the 31st, and I didn't deliver until 6:45 a.m. September 2nd morning. I did not get my epidural until about 28 hours. It was almost close. It was like I had like a natural labor for the most part until, you know, the end, when I had to get an epidural, because at that point I was so exhausted to the point where I just needed something. Like I was in labor. I hadn't eaten for over 24 hours. I was tired, and I just wanted to get it over with. I had planned, you know, everybody plans, but God knows you plan, he laughs, okay? You make a plan, he laughs, because planning, you can have all these, you know, nursing birth plans and things like that. When you're actually in labor, when you're actually going through the process, all of that goes out the window. You don't even think about what you planned or what you want, you know what I'm saying? You just want to get it over with. You want to get the baby out, and you want the pain to go away. That's basically what goes on. So yeah, so I was in labor for 36 hours, and then I finally gave birth to my baby. And like I said, she is now 4 months old. So this story, it's probably going to be a little choppy because I'm trying to remember. And 4 months ago, believe it or not, I don't remember every juicy detail, but I remember the most part of it. I remember, you know, enough of it to be able to tell my story. After birth, we had to stay in the hospital for about 2 days. I think it was 2 days. Yeah, it was 2 days. And basically they just monitored her and made sure she didn't have like jaundice and things like that. Just made sure she was okay. And that was the most tiring 2 days of my life, because on top of me being up for 36 hours after birth, I still didn't go to sleep. I still didn't go to sleep. It's impossible to sleep in a hospital because you constantly have doctors and nurses coming in and out of the room to make sure, you know, you're okay, checking your blood pressure, checking their blood pressure, checking their temperature, checking your temperature, you know, doing paperwork, all this different stuff. So it was impossible to even go to sleep after giving birth. So at that point, I am dead tired. I'm a zombie. I'm a zombie. I can't even function. So after the 2 days, I was able to leave. I was able to go home, and then it was life with a newborn by myself for the first time ever. So yeah, so after 2 days of being in the hospital, we were finally able to go home. And I was so excited because I was ready to sleep in my own bed. I was ready to take a bath in my own tub. And I was ready to actually be able to sleep. So I thought, for the most part, without doctors and nurses coming in constantly, you know, checking your pressure and things like that, it was getting really annoying. So yeah, I was finally able to go home. And then that's when life started for real. Yeah, so that's my story. It may have been a little choppy, like I said, because that was 4 months ago and I can't remember everything, but I just wanted to share the story because a lot of women, like I said, don't know about the balloon method of induction. You know, when I was pregnant, I would watch a lot of labor and delivery videos because I wanted to see how the process goes. I wanted, you know like how it would feel, what to expect, things like that. So whenever you're watching these videos, just know that everybody's delivery is going to be different. Not everybody's delivery and things are the same. You may have similarities, but nothing's going to be the exact same. Everybody's delivery experience is different. So all I can do is just tell you my experience and hope that it can help ease your mind or give you an idea of how the process will go. But just know that what happened to me may not necessarily happen to you. What happened to you may not necessarily happen to me. So yeah, thanks for watching, and stay tuned because I will be posting some more videos about different stuff. So stay tuned.